Hi, hi,
hi. Hello. Hello. It's good to see you.
Yes, I think tonight's going to be an interesting chat and waiting for some people to get in here. And yes, I'm just looking at all my link stuff and making sure things are
absolutely.
Hello,
she knows the drill. Hey, Deborah, good to see you again, sweetie.
She's so dependable.
Happy January 20th, darling.
Yes.
Today was a historic day. So, so as you come online with us guys, maybe throw up a little line across the bottom, say hi in the chat so we know you're here. And say something, post in the chat or post in the comments, depending on if you're Facebook or YouTube or whatever. And let us know you're here if you want to. You don't have to. Yeah. So I'm Margot. For anybody who's new here, welcome. We appreciate newcomers and we appreciate our regulars as well and our irregulars.
And are you irregular?
We're very irregular. And the other lady here is Iris Carter, our host for the show. And we are here tonight talking about the strange and fascinating and highly useful topic of forgiveness. So, Iris, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm kind of looking because I want to make sure we don't lose people or if it's taking people a minute to get here. Because I can see the count. Yeah. And
you can see a general count.
So I don't want to. Yeah. I hope that's what I'm supposed to be able to see. So,
so what inspired?
What do you see? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm learning. So to burn up a little time, but it's also very relevant. Iris, what brought you the inspiration for this topic? Where did you see the need for it, or whatever? Do you recall?
I think, yeah, because I think mainly it's the fact that it goes back to some of the other topics that we've discussed before, where we've talked about being triggered and that kind of thing, where people are harboring a lot of issues, resentments, things like that. And I'm thinking, if we can talk about what forgiveness is and what it really means and pass that on to some people, then maybe it'll help. I think people forget where that is. And so, to get started, I'm going over here to.
So I'm hearing you saying the intention is to help people move forward, especially during this time of people harboring a lot of fear and resentments, and sociopolitically, there's a lot of finger pointing going on.
Yes,
a lot of blaming going on, and even people that are hot into it can agree that a lot of this is old, dare I say, shit.
Yes, you dare.
Crap stuff, whatever, from way back, and that it behooves humans in general to move forward, pay it forward, move forward, grow up, let it go, all these expressions, forgive, and in this case, remember. And I believe you're going to elaborate more about the difference between forgetting and remembering in this context.
Yes. So as I see more people added to the thread, I just want to remind everybody, yes, put your comments in,
that way.
Make comments, let us know you're here, say hello. And don't forget to like, subscribe, join, follow. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and
iTunes.
iTunes. Indeed. And also iriscarter.com, the Eyes of Indigo podcast blog is there as well. So just want to mention those. The thing too with, I think, forgiveness, kind of going back to what we had started, is a lot of people, because they're angry and they're mad about things, they misplace the anger, and all that's doing is tearing themselves apart rather than
anyone else.
You can, and so if you giving forgiveness is part of dealing with the anger or the resentment. So let me show this first of all to kind of get us started. And I'm looking there. Okay. So forgive. What does forgive mean? And we've got several definitions here. To grant pardon for or remission of an offense or a debt. Absolution, to absolve somebody. To give up all claim on account of or remit. Again, to give up all claim on account of. So
one aspect of forgiveness, that's not the only.
Yeah, and then to grant pardon to a person.
And those are the popular definitions. But there's more.
I think these come into play more with what we're going to talk about. To cease to feel resentment against, or to cancel an indebtedness or a liability, to forgive the interest owed on a loan, or to forgive one's enemies. And then as a verb without an object, to pardon an offense or an offender. So I think when you're looking at forgiveness, it doesn't mean you're rolling over and saying, I'm a doormat. And so, yes, of course, I'll forgive you and you can just do it again. And that's not, we're not talking about that at all. And so,
and when I talk Sesame Street level, that is some types of forgiveness. We're not saying that it's not that at all, but that's sort of entry level, in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. But there are more levels that a more mature spirituality, or even a slightly more mature spirituality, can entertain and get a lot of healthy out of. Which I interrupted you. You're about to explain more.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking was, when I named this, I named it Forgive and Forget, and then marked through the forget and said, remember, meaning that it's, a lot of people say, oh, forgive and forget, because out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And so I won't think about that. I won't think about that today. I'll think about that tomorrow. And if you're putting it off, or you're putting it out of sight, are you dealing with what's at the core?
Suppression.
And
repression. Right.
Yeah. And to me, it's not forgive and forget in that you're forcing yourself to forget so that you can get over whatever it is.
Right.
It's forgive and forget because you've forgiven in the right way, and then you don't want any longer think about it.
You free yourself.
Yes.
You free up your own energy, your own mind.
Right.
And
Uh,
hi, Angela Noel. Hi, sweetie.
I think one of the things that that has helped me personally is in theta healing, which is the practice that I do. We've learned that the 3 R's, resentment, regret, and rejection, will hold you back spiritually.
Yeah.
All 3 of those, if you're harboring those, then you can't move past until you resolve those issues. So, like, for when we're hurt, we feel rejected, or we feel resentment because somebody hurt us. What does it take to think about what that person did and why you're hurt? Yes, the action that somebody might have done, whether it's if somebody left you and you're hurt because they left,
right,
or ended a relationship or whatever.
Right.
Why there are a lot of reasons to feel either rejected, or to resent them. I can't believe I put all this time into this relationship and look what they did.
Right.
And they just walk out on me. I've invested all that. So if you're thinking, I did all these things.
Yeah, you're defining resentment right there. Right.
Yeah. And if you've done all these things and then you're going, I'm mad at them, I can't forgive them for walking out on me because look what I did, and they don't appreciate what I did.
You're looking for their validation. You're looking.
Yes.
You're spinning your wheels in the mud, waiting for somebody else's validation of your power, which is quintessentially what we just talked about, giving away your power when you wait for someone else to initiate an apology. Waiting for an apology. Yeah, waiting for an apology is quintessential giving away your power.
Yeah, and instead, if you can look deeper and go, are you resenting what you did? Would you have done things any differently for that person if you had known that in 6 months they were going to leave you? We don't think that way, and if we do, then we're not meant to be in that relationship anyway. Well, I'm not gonna cook you breakfast in bed because I know you're just gonna leave me in 6 months. Well, hello, let's talk about passive aggressive behavior.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lack of living in the moment.
I want to make you want to leave. Yeah.
All right.
You son of a bitch, you're going to leave me in 10 years. I know you are, and I'm just not going to do anything for you.
Iris is channeling her inner passive aggressive and damn passive. Go get him, Iris.
I think I'm channeling some past issues.
Channeling some of our friends here. But that's life, maybe. But we've all felt what you're saying. Absolutely. We're kidding, but yeah, we've all been there. Right.
Yeah. And so you, first of all, when you start doing that, I can't believe all this shit I did for you. You have to stop and think, okay, I did that willingly. Forgive yourself for being hurt. What you're trying to do is deflect.
Yeah.
And it's like, you gave of yourself in a relationship that at the time you were doing the best you could and you thought you were doing something good. And it's not that it wasn't appreciated at that time.
Right. And to think otherwise dishonors yourself. To think otherwise dishonors and cheapens, so to speak, yourself in that effort to dishonor it with, I wasn't appreciated. Why did I waste my time? or any other kind of verbiage like that. No, 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 no. Don't discredit the value of what you of love and light that you gave to someone else, because we all know you benefited too. Both of you did. So
Yeah.
yes, totally get where you're going. So keep going.
and so then you want to heal that in yourself, and why else might you resent somebody, if for ending a relationship? Maybe it's because you were thinking about it too, but you didn't take the action first, and you're just pissed off at yourself because they beat you to the punch.
Because they beat you to the punch. No. I've seen lots of people terminate relationships for that reason. They're scared the other person's going to, so they want to get in the first punch. And that's not a reason to end a relationship either. Friendship or
it's not a reason to end a relationship, nor is it a reason to resent the fact that a relationship ended because well, and is it sour grapes?
Another expression.
Yeah. Well, I was going to leave you anyway, so yeah.
Absolutely. It's rationalization at that point. Absolutely. So.
Or if you're thinking, I can't believe I stayed with you so long. It's forgiving yourself, first of all.
Once you forgive yourself, forgiving other people comes a lot more naturally and a lot more easily and with a lot more grace and ease. Anytime we're happier with ourselves, okay with ourselves, your whole life, including forgiveness of others and letting go, which is quintessential to healthy life. There's a lot of letting go. If you're living in the moment, you've got to let go of the last moment. So there's a lot of letting go constantly in a healthy present life. So this absolutely plays into that. Yeah. It's a very, very.
And I think, and I think too, like, when we can look at an appreciation for the experiences we have, regardless of what the experience is. When you're stuck in traffic and you're really pissed off because, or maybe somebody causes an accident, that idiot, he pulled in front of me and, hit my car as he was, he's cycling. Yeah. And
road rage.
Okay. Road rage.
Road rage is an instant lack of forgiveness. Yes. Quintessential.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you have to get out of the car and go, that's all right, I forgive you. I know you didn't mean
That's not what it looks like.
That's not forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
It's a matter of saying.
Yeah, it's being rational in the moment and staying out of the blame game. It's having awareness that it is what it is. And sometimes what it is sucks. And sometimes what it is beautiful. But stay out of the blame game, which is a huge part of what our society is struggling with right now. If you want to say belief systems, let's call them factions. Some of them take on the D word for their group title, and some take on the R word for their title, and some adopt a red color, and some adopt a blue color. And then there's also,
it's like damn football teams.
You got conservatives and liberals, and you got radicals of both, and yada yada yada, and all these groups and factions. One of my close friends, and I believe she's becoming a good friend of yours, Amy, pointed out all these groups ultimately want the same things: peace, freedom to live your life the way you want, happiness and health. Everybody wants happiness, health, freedom to be what you want, abundance, peace, world peace. The difference between the groups is who that group blames, who they're pointing the finger at, whose fault is it that we're not living that way. And the whole remember, there's also the classic thing of when you point your finger at somebody, look at where those other 3 fingers are actually pointing at. I'm pointing at you. There's 3 fingers pointing at me. It's never anybody else. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the difference between factions.
Well, and it goes
So
back
forgiveness
to,
plays in. Go ahead.
you just reminded me, there was a song back when I was growing up. I loved this song, and they played it in Billy Jack, the movie. That's really dating myself, back in the early 70s. And Billy Jack was based on a true story, but the song was One Tin Soldier. And if you haven't seen it, look it up. It's on YouTube, One Tin Soldier. And the whole story about the
Play a ribbon across the bottom of the screen. One Tin Soldier. Run a ribbon across the bottom if you want. Is that too much?
Yeah. Nah, I can do it. One Tin Soldier.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah. And sorry I didn't capitalize, but deal with it. I'm talking and typing and
we
doing
forgive you.
But but the whole point of the song is it's the story that the singer is telling. And it's like, listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about and it's very much a ballad. And it's this king lived up on a mountain, and the people resented the king, and finally they decide, we're going to get that treasure. We know he's got this big treasure and we want it. And they take over the mountain and battle with the people and all this, and they finally get to where the treasure is. And when they open it up, all it said was peace on earth.
Oh, that's lovely.
That was the treasure. It is a beautiful, beautiful song. And if I'm in the right mood when I'm listening to it,
like Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace will do that to you too. Yeah. Which is actually a song about God.
Yeah. And so yeah. And so I'm gonna hide that now. But it's well worth looking up, because it's a beautiful, beautiful story, and it just reminds you kind of what,
be careful what you resent.
Being careful and having and not being mad at somebody when actually, like the car wreck thing that I was giving the example for, the road rage. When something like that happens and you're thinking, oh crap, I'm going to be late, I've got to pick up the kids and blah 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 blah, and all this stuff. Calm down, make the calls that you need to make, and really talk to the other person. Because there's and it sounds so cliche, I know it does, but there's a reason. There is a reason.
There's a reason why you are
something to
into
learn.
Each other's reality. Yeah. There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason. And think about it. If you're in a car wreck and the other person comes to you first and they're talking reasonably and wanting to connect and be calm and be genuine and be authentic with you in that potentially chaotic moment, think about how much you would appreciate that if someone approached you that way. Now, we're not guaranteeing that other people are always going to cooperate and appreciate that, but you can try. You're perfectly welcome within your power to initiate a calm, authentic, meaningful conversation and explore the possibilities for why you're crossing each other's paths in such a dramatic way. And if they don't want to cooperate, that's fine, but you gave it a shot.
And if that same person comes up and starts trying to blame you, and you're say, I know you're upset. I'm upset too. Can we be calm about this? Or if you would rather, I've called the police, they're on their way. why don't you sit down and calm down so we can both talk to the police and have sense? You know, if the other person's, when the other person's out of control, you can be in control. Nobody's saying you have to react.
Right.
You don't have to react as in duplicate what they're doing, and you don't have to react as in respond to what they're doing.
Be proactive instead of reactive. That's always a better choice.
Yeah. And that comes into play with forgiveness.
Clarity.
Yeah. I think too that recognizing the other person's journey in anything. Sometimes I'm going to kick back to the relationship issue. Sometimes we're in relationships because we're there to help each other through something or to learn something.
Right.
And when that's done, it's time to part ways. And either you've gotten what you need from that relationship, or you need to go with somebody else where you can learn. And maybe that person, sometimes I've known people that have been in relationships where one person is growing more and the other person isn't, and the other person gets scared and takes off.
Right.
And it's like they weren't ready. And if they're not ready, that's not your fault.
Correct.
And so what the best you can do is be the best you can be.
Keep being the best you can be.
And
let them have their journey.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I want to pull one of these up because I think this is appropriate on my next
slide.
Yeah, it's resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it'll kill your enemies. That shit backfires.
You think?
Yeah.
It is. The longest I've ever carried a resentment, it was towards an ex-boyfriend. And by the time I got closure on that, it had been 10 years, and it had the residual resentment had consciously or subconsciously filtered into every relationship in those 10 years since. And I realized the fatality of it in every single relationship. And at that point, that's what gave me the impetus to get closure after 10 years, to finally get closure on not him or anything he did or didn't do, but closure on my feelings, any hopes or expectations, any attachments or fantasies or whatever, or resentments, all of it, the baggage that was attached to him. Get closure on all of that, which is forgiveness. And the minute that happened, I felt physically, I felt mentally and emotionally, I felt 10 times lighter instantly. And then I met my first husband about a month later. And that was actually
there you go.
That was a very beneficial relationship, and that lasted for quite a few years. And so, and my relationships after that were all much more meaningful and genuine for me and for the other people, because I wasn't subconsciously holding them to a resentment standard that they had nothing to do with. Yeah. So absolutely can relate to that.
Yeah.
Lisa Clark Klein. Hello, sweetie.
And that's just another.
I'm just saying hi.
And that's another thing too, is setting expectations on other people that they can't live up to. Recognizing and being in the moment, rather than going, well, I expected they would do this, or I expected they would do that. You're just building yourself up for resentment.
Recognizing your own expectations. Yeah. And owning them. We're talking about owning stuff. We're talking about owning your power. We're talking about And the lack of forgiveness, we're referring to giving away your power, actually. Sitting and waiting for somebody to apologize or for somebody to come back or whatever is giving away your power, which is spiritually and energetically and psychologically and socially and personally one of the worst travesties you can do against yourself is to give away your power. And so forgiveness is a way to claim it back, and immediately and without anybody else's permission. You're not letting anybody off the hook, which is one of the points that Iris is making as well. And you're making yourself more whole.
Yeah.
We talked before the show started. Iris and I talked about soul retrieval and soul cutting practices of the Native American practices and Toltec religions and so on that subscribe to this exact same thought of inadvertently letting other people or entities or situations or energies take away pieces of what you are in your youth, in your childhood, and in your adulthood, and that you have a right to go out and reclaim those energetic pieces to be more whole and unified within yourself. And we can talk about what is, soul retrieval, what is cord cutting. We can talk about all that in another show because it's very involved.
Well, yeah, and just another quick example related to that. I mean, it's been scientifically proven when you have a sexual relationship with someone, you're exchanging DNA.
Yeah.
And you're also exchanging, and not as scientifically proven, but in that process, you're sharing pieces of yourself. You're also sharing soul fragments. And so you get some of theirs, they get some of yours, and that's why the connection is there.
The ineffable
when that ends. Yeah. And when that ends, you can get those back. And I know with Theta, I bring them back through the All That Is so that they're cleaned and rejuvenated and back, because you don't want to get the garbage that was attached to it back to it,
a little bit.
But giving up, yeah. And so you send theirs back to them, and you get yours back to you, and yeah. But it is amazing when you do that for previous relationships or experiences, interactions that had a lot of emotion to them. You can put healings on that and get your soul fragments back. And it is amazing how that can be helpful. But you have to release those resentments and all. A lot of people will say, yeah, well, I know karma's going to get them. You're waiting for something else.
You're giving away your power
to happen.
Yeah, you're giving away your power again.
Again.
Yeah.
And I mean, karma is, it's there, but if I can cut out the middleman,
you can. Absolutely. Yeah. Unequivocal.
Yeah. So I like to, so what I've realized is when you forgive someone, and truly, in other words, when you understand the situation and you understand what happened, and you can give a person forgiveness, you're releasing them of their karmic obligation
to you.
In other words, they don't have to get hit by a truck to make you feel better.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Tammy Russo says, wow, I never thought
I'm
about
reading
that.
here.
Oh my God, I will adapt that into my actions and how I think about my actions after and now I can cleanse my soul and theirs. Tammy Russo, thank you. Tammy, you're saying I never thought about that. Oh my God, that's cool. Iris just put out a whole bunch of different points, which Tammy, can you specify? Please tell us which point specifically triggered you just now. Because I'm curious. I'm dying to know. Because there's a bunch of tidbits in here, and we realize that one tidbit leads to another tidbit. We realize that. But what was the crescendo for you, Tammy? Let us know. And another question for people watching as well is, when you talk about forgiveness, we're talking about it in terms of forgiveness of self, forgiveness of perhaps family, and then forgiveness of friends and loved ones, and then in maybe a road rage situation, forgiveness of strangers. Is one of those easier than the other out of those basically 4 classifications? Comment. Which one is easiest for you, or which one is probably the hardest for you, in your opinion? We want to invite you into the discussion. You can start there. Tammy says, I came in late, but it was for the after sex part of the souls are attached, and I never knew this. Yeah. Iris, the part about how people exchange energetic DNA and energy. Angela says, reclaiming soul pieces.
Yeah. And Angela says,
oh, sorry. Yeah. So,
right.
Those are fascinating revelations.
Is part of forgiving someone else is forgiving yourself. Random people increases generalizations and frustrations. Yeah.
That's a random statement.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I know Angela Noel personally from years ago, so I know she'll get it. Angela, your statement is true, but the way you stated it was very random too. The irony of how you said the statement about randomness is just fun. It just struck me as funny. And I know we asked.
Well, you asked. Yes, we did.
And exactly, the ironies are everywhere in that one. Thank you. That was terrific. That was wonderful. And you're right.
That makes my head spin.
Exactly. And then and at the exact same time, you're absolutely right. But, randomness. Yeah, lack of intention. Random. Is that makes it harder on the people around you. Lack of authentic energy and manifestation. Random, disturbing, defraying or distracting behavior and or comments or silent treatment. Those random behaviors are not healing anybody. No.
And I think also part of forgiving other people, we do things ourselves that we get mad at ourselves about.
Yeah.
And we deflect and displace. So, you can, I can remember like when the kids were growing up and I would have something happen that would be upsetting. And then I would be asking myself, why are the kids so much worse when I'm upset? And they were good kids. They weren't any worse that day than they were any other day. But because I was upset about something else, they were more sensitive more. And then, and so it's like, if you're focused on what's really bugging you, you won't deflect to somebody else or on something else. Or, road rage. When you're mad at somebody, who's, little grandma that's going too slow down the road. There are times where somebody's in front of me doing that, and I'm like, well, this is cool. I'm just, And then there's other times where I'm like, bitch, get out of my way. It's like,
she went there.
Yeah, I did.
I'm good. No, honey, yeah, it does.
And then there are times where I know people are yelling that at me.
Exactly. That comes out. Road rage is so easy because we're so faceless inside of our cars. We know that. We know that. So,
Right.
I, t- uh,
But the reason it bothers me one day and doesn't bother me another is because of something that's going on with
right.
me, not with
It's
them.
triggering on top of a trigger. Iris, you're getting a compliment that you might want to see over in
Yeah.
the comments from Tammy Russo. Our show is being sort of tonight's topic is kind of a divine inspirational thing for somebody. Tammy is sharing that with us. And this topic,
Okay.
I can if you'd like.
You want to read it, or
this topic is Iris's brainchild,
sure.
So I think she ought to hear it. Tammy says, I was called to your page by my angel.
Thank you.
I recently met. And the first things you had to say hit my heart and really made me have a realization on how we interact and how it could really help others by filtering. We can really help others by filtering their soul pieces as we give them back as well as heal ours. I'm honestly mind blown. I appreciate this. And she's sending you prayer hands and hearts and smiley faces. So her angels, her angels led her here for this beautiful message that you created long ago and get to manifest for us now. So I thought that's wonderful. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. You didn't have to share that, and we really appreciate it. Thank you for being authentic. Yeah. And Angela Noel has a comment. Those generalizations, such as bad drivers, people are stupid, oh my God, why can't you, etc. I think it adds to the collective blame our society, as you were discussing earlier. Yeah, it does. And Iris and I were talking about that. That the blame game is a part of that promotes the lack of forgiveness, and that goes on. Iris, do you remember that part of our conversation before we got online? That road collective society. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're blaming somebody else and you're going,
right.
Because of you, I've missed out on this. Or, sometimes I've heard people talk about, it's your fault that I didn't finish my college degree because I gave up my ability to go to college because I was letting you go to college, or because we had the kids and you weren't doing your part. And all that does is, again, it's part of that deflection. You're giving away your power,
but it promotes,
and not focusing on.
Keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
I'm not.
We went down the road of it promoting victimhood and substantiating the egoic need to survive by making it somebody else's thought, making it somebody else's fault.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, and how this plays into substantiating victimhood.
Tell the story about
what? Which story?
Tell the story about Grant Lee Grant.
Oh, the severity. Okay, so that's going down a different angle. A lady in Kentucky after the Civil War, a lady in Kentucky took General Robert E. Lee Grant to show him a grand old tree that lived on the front of her estate that was now mangled with broken limbs and trunk damage, and it was dying due to artillery fire. And she was lamenting how her beautiful tree was dying and getting destroyed, and how she was so sad about that. And she looked to General Lee for sympathy and maybe blasting some of the Northerners a little bit, or at least some sympathy for the South. And the story goes that he just looked at her and said, "Ma'am, cut it down and get on with your life," and walked away. Okay. Some of us really, really like tough love like that. And we politely call it tough love. Call it being an a-hole. Some of us like abruptness, and some of us don't. More people don't. More people do not like that kind of abrupt closure on a situation. Most people don't appreciate that.
And I would like to qualify too, because I think sometimes that closure is helpful, because if you can get it that neat and clean. But like for myself, if I was that woman and I cut down the tree, I would be then going, I used to have a tree out there and it got damaged, and it's because of those people that damaged the tree that I finally had to cut it down, and I'm just dragging it on.
And that's where we went with the victimhood. That's dragging on the victimhood, and now you just gave it a new name. Instead of talking about the tree, now you're talking about the firewood and the empty hole in the ground. and that's what not allowing forgiveness to happen substantiates a very primitive need for victimhood, because victimhood also substantiates an egoic need for survival. And Iris, you made a really concise statement about that, and I can't remember what it was, about how how victimhood plays into supporting ego's survival by, well, I can explain it, but you said it concisely, but I can explain it. It's talking about shifting blame. When you promote your own victimhood by giving away your power, by not allowing closure, by not seeking closure, you're substantiating your victimhood. And this tells your ego, see, I was right. That's what it was, Iris. The whole the ego constantly seeks the need to say, see, I was right. I was a victim. Poor, pitiful me. I deserve, you should give me stuff. When actuality, you deserve, and people should give you stuff anyway, just because you're a sacred being, not because you're a victim. But ego likes that third dimensional substantiation. And so victimhood gets psychologically unintentional. Yeah.
And it's a way of saying too that if I can blame somebody else, then I'm not wrong.
Right.
We like to be right.
You're moving the liability onto someone else. Yeah, it's a safety move. Again, the ego's trying really hard to keep you alive inside a social collective.
Right.
Okay, so Tammy, here a little bit more.
And I was trying
Yeah, she's talking about exchanging energy with her friends and gifts, and she's learning a new view about how to she's learning a new way of seeing how to view the exchange of energy with her friends, and her self-talk. She's actually explaining more and more about her self-talk. And self-talk is such a key component to all this good stuff. And theta healing, actually, you've mentioned it off and on in the past, Iris, theta healing actually plays on that tool a lot. What kind of conversations do you have with yourself in your mind? And that has to do with manifesting and good stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like too, if you're thinking about you and how much that hurts you, you become in that cycle of creating, you're giving it energy. And that focus of giving energy, so
you're giving it your energy, your power. Yeah.
Right. And so of course it's gonna keep coming back to you.
Because it was yours.
Like, every time I think about that guy, and it comes right back. Yeah. Yeah. And so when kind of going back full circle, when you think about forgive and forget, if you're forgiving and releasing, and then you don't need to think about it anymore, that's fine. But if you're trying to
Assign blame.
force yourself to forgive
Yeah.
something,
That's not the same thing.
then it's no. Because then you're internalizing, you're just stuffing it down and trying to put it at the bottom of the trash barrel. And you need to regurgitate some of that crap and figure out what is it about it that it keeps coming back to haunt you.
Yeah, and that's the definition of suppression. Of suppressing stuff that you're afraid of facing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. So, in my opinion, where are we in time? 10:21. In my opinion, the question that I put out earlier about which is the hardest: forgiveness of self, forgiveness of family, forgiveness of loved ones or friends, and then forgiveness of strangers. My thought is forgiveness of self is a double thing. One, I think it's the hardest to do. And two, it's the most effective because it tends to cause a chain reaction. Once you try it. Once you forgive yourself, try it, forgiving yourself around one topic. You can approach everything later on if you like, but try forgiving yourself over one thing that you find distasteful or just, whatever, uncomfortable about yourself. Forgive that. And watch how much easier it is to forgive everyone else that has that same travesty or that same mirror that they keep holding up to you, or however you want to characterize it. And you're going to find out it suddenly gets a lot easier. If you can forgive it in yourself, you can forgive it. Yes, forgive and hold accountable. Absolutely. You can forgive and hold yourself accountable.
The only thing,
all the others are easy. What? Go ahead. Oh, no, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah, if that's what you're doing, if you're trying to hold somebody else
forgive yourself first, and
then you're putting your because anytime you're going, well, yeah, I can forgive them, but I won't forgive them until they
yada, yada.
apologize, right. Or I won't then you're implying judgment. And you're setting expectations for behaviors of somebody else.
You're being reactive instead of proactive.
And we cannot. Right. And it's that whole thing of nobody makes you feel any particular way. You're responsible for your own feelings. Let them be responsible for theirs. Because even if they never come back and apologize, how do you feel about that? And forgiving my abuse and not letting them in my space. Yeah, don't let them in your head.
That's being proactive.
You set your boundaries.
That's being proactive instead of reactive. Absolutely. Yeah. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean that you also allow them to do it again or do any travesty again. It means absolving yourself from the damage of the situation. Absolutely. Yeah.
And just to kind of, I'm feeling compelled to throw this out because, and I know not everybody will agree, but I'm being told, okay.
Yes.
People will talk about, well, they're going to hell when they die because they were so mean to me or whatever.
Or you can give them explicit instructions to do that.
I went there and your mama wasn't home.
You weren't home. I came back.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
But if first of all, don't put that expectation on somebody. Yeah. But when we talked about the oneness with the Creator and how we're all this mesh of connectivity. Right. And when we realize when we die, there is not somebody sitting there and going, well, do you want the down elevator or the up elevator? It's not judgment, because if you believe that the creator of all that is, the higher power, the cosmos, is pure love. And how many people have you talked about that have had near-death experiences say, I just felt all this love, this pure love. Well,
tons
duh,
of evidence
it is
that it's all forgiveness and love on the other side once we die, regardless of what life choices we made. Yeah. It's nothing but forgiveness and love.
And it's not that, and it's not even, well, it is forgiveness, but it's more of a, well, so you did that. Okay, and let's talk about it.
It's not forgiveness in a judgmental. It's not forgiveness in a judgmental. You're talking about next level stuff, actually, Iris. I think to rephrase you or to paraphrase, I should say you. It's not about forgiveness in terms of judging. Oh, you did something wrong, and we're going to let it go. It's forgiveness in that, you know what? Let's look beyond that and just reframe it as a life lesson and take it out of judgment completely.
Yeah.
And it's that level of forgiveness, of almost indifference to the quote value that was assigned to that particular situation, because values are subjective. They're cultural, they're personal, they're human ego to 100%. Yeah.
Judgment is a
ego.
It's
strictly ego shaped by.
Judgment is pure ego, and if we can get past that and recognize, and even hardcore, people who really are into the Christianity Bible stuff, and I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I believe that stuff too.
The audience is agreeing with you. Yeah.
They talk about, we don't judge, because, that's up to God to do. Well, why is it up to God, this external person, to judge? Because he doesn't judge. We are not discounted.
That's not what we're designed for. We're designed to learn something else. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's our egos that tend to want to judge people.
To make something good or bad.
And if we recognize that and our connectivity, then we don't tend to need to judge as much. And we don't have to put bad values on.
Plug into your God self, your Jesus self, your Buddha self, your higher self, your priestess self, your priest self, whatever is divine self for you. Plug into that. And I believe and you're going to have a better access to that higher level, which is a lot easier, by the way. It's much easier to live with that level of awareness around forgiveness issues. You plug into that for yourself, because every single person is sacred. We all have a divine light inside of us, even if we're not actively showing it at any one moment. It's still there. And Lee points that out in Christian terminology. She said, heaven, hell, and Jesus are all here now and our personal choice. What I'm interpreting her to say is all those opportunities for divinity are with us 24/7. And I hope I interpreted you right, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also true, not just in Christianity, all major religions, and the eclectic ones and the New Age ones and the non-major and the minor quote religions, same thing. The opportunity for tapping into your divine self, your higher thinking, your magnanimous self, your super ego, whatever terminology you want to use, is always there. Yeah, 24/7. Your angelic self is a popular term. Yeah.
And I pulled this up because of the power behind the statement when we, and when we're talking about manifesting and all,
Right.
it's like do or do not. There is no try. And Yoda was right.
Actually, George Lucas.
Because if we say, well, yeah, well, I prefer to say Yoda.
It's more fun to give Yoda the credit.
You say tomato, I say tomato. George Lucas. I put more faith in the puppet than I do.
Hey, the Force is real. Yeah, different cultures, anyway. Different things, but the Force is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you say, "Oh, I'll try to do better," you're gonna try all your life. You're never going to do better. So manifest. Watch your words.
And your
also with forgiveness and self.
Yeah, you're saying the same thing. Go for it, Iris.
Yeah. And when you say I'm sorry, don't say I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Well, you sorry son of a bitch. No, make sure that the words you use are not setting yourself up for manifesting a lesser self.
Be authentic. Think about your word choice because words are power. Once again, do not give away your personal power.
Yes.
And so, good meme we've got here. Next level awareness.
It's the ones who are against you who believe in your power the most.
Think about that.
Why not believe in your own power?
The people who move against you are the ones that believe you're that have the most belief of how powerful you are. Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's so true. That is so true. That falls in line with your greatest teachers are your enemies because they show you what you're weak at, whether you like it or not. Obviously, we don't at that point. It all goes there. But I love that quote that Iris just showed. It's really, really telling.
Yeah. And this one, we debated actually
it's a good
showing,
choice.
but it's today I decided to forgive you. Not because you apologized or because you acknowledged the pain that you caused me, but because my soul deserves peace. And
Zebian, yeah.
And if you want to break it down a little bit, today I decided to forgive you because my soul deserves peace.
You can skip everything in between.
Yeah, because I'm no longer setting expectations.
Right. You don't have to wait for that apology. You don't have to wait for that acknowledgement. Just because your soul deserves that peace. Yeah. And guess who's torturing your soul?
Yes.
Not the other person, but you, because you won't do forgiveness. It's actually you causing your own pain at that level. And that's part of the irony that it takes us a while. I mean, I didn't know that. I had to study that and learn that gradually over life. But once again, we are the creators.
I still have to remind myself.
We are the creators as well as the harbingers of our own damage and hurt. We good God, some of the shit we choose. What the heck were we thinking? And but forgiveness absolves that. Whatever it is, forgive yourself for doing that to yourself. You can even forgive forgiving. Get a brain wrap on that one. Forgive yourself for the need to forgive, to be more specific. And Daffy Girl is sending us virtual.
Nice. I'm so glad you So you never know if you're going to be called out here. I just kind of randomly pick people, but I saw that she did that, so it's good to see you.
Good. You did good. You did good. Angela Norell
Oh,
shared that totally had a boss point that out to me once about someone who was feeling threatened by her professionally. Yeah, absolutely. They're calling it in on themselves. Choosing mountains when a molehill will do it. Yeah. Yeah. We are so good at beating ourselves up, which means because of mirrors, we can be just as good at the opposite. Yeah, we can totally heal and placate ourselves instead of beat ourselves up and let it go.
and I think this comes into play because this was a good choice. Margaret found this one. You gotta pick yourself up sometimes and embrace yourself.
Embrace yourself, connect with yourself.
You can't expect everybody else to do that for you.
It's a waste of time, a waste of energy, and it's not going to stick. I saw a secondary message in this picture that we might do for a future show. This is also a good image that illustrating working with your shadow self. And some people think that means what you mean, dealing with my personal demons and hiccups and pimples and bruises and whatever. That's a small part of it, but dealing with your shadow self for healthy intentions to heal and accept your shadow self, not trying to get rid of anything, trying to create unity inside your person, your light self, your dark self. Everybody has both. Actually, everybody has three. There's a little gray self in the middle. But working with your shadow self is not promoted in our society. It's seen as dark and dangerous and nefarious. And there's so much more to that that's actually quite brilliant, profound, loving, and healthy. And we'll talk about that in a future episode. But that's a good picture illustrating.
Tinkerbell sewed Peter Pan's shadow to him.
Yeah, the Peter Pan thing. Yep, holding on to your shadow. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we've been through a lot. I do want to, and I hope that this has helped people. We can't go on. We could go on all night with this, but we won't do that to you.
True.
But I want to mention next week, and I hadn't even told you, Margot. Next week we are going to have Dale Stacey with us on the 27th. Yes, and
is it Dale and Jeannie?
Dale Stacey
is it just Dale or is it Dale and Jeannie? Is it Dale or Dale? Is it just Dale or Dale and
just
Jeannie?
Dale.
Okay, that's fine. Just checking. I'll take either. I'll take
Dale.
either one.
Yeah. I had
They're both brilliant. Yeah.
And Dale has Earth Star Spiritual Center, which is a non-denominational.
Throw up the banner for him if you don't mind.
Center. I don't have it.
No, I was just just Earth. Just the name of his business, if you'd like, Earth Star Spiritual Center. They teach and coach and support all kinds of metaphysical and spiritual practices, several different types in shamanism and divinity, for all types of groups and for everyone. They're very eclectic. And they've mentored thousands and thousands of people. They helped me get started way back in 03, 02, 03, 04, and with LUA, Light and Energy Workers Association. And I'm excited. Whoops, I think Stacey does not have an E in his name. That's all right.
Oh, I apologize.
But we'll have that next week. So this is exciting. Dale is loaded with fascinating information on the spiritual side and on the 3D side. He's very much a shamanic person, a classic shaman of foot in both worlds. He's very practical 3D, used to be a police officer before he switched over to this spiritual line.
And he's got
degrees in all kinds of stuff.
He's fascinating.
Political science. Yeah, he's a black belt. He's a Tai Chi instructor. I'd be here for hours trying to say his resume, but we'll
Yeah.
get him to summarize it for you. He's a great speaker. He often presents at Mind, Body, and Spirit expos. He often speaks as a presenter. Him and his wife do a lot of classes. So he's fascinating to listen to. He's a great speaker. So that's wonderful news. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Thank you.
be sure to join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got that set up, and we were talking about other stuff, and I didn't get to that before we met. So yeah, surprise. And so if I'm repeat that, first of all, you can go to iriscarter.com, find the Eyes of Indigo link to the podcast, and it gives you background information in the blog. Our audio parts of our presentations are up to date, and they are on iTunes and Spotify. So if you prefer to listen to the audio version, or you can see the videos of these on our Facebook and YouTube channels, or you can catch us live every Wednesday at 9:30 and Eastern Standard Time. Yes. So we appreciate very much
See you
everybody
next Wednesday,
being here.
everyone.
And
January 27th.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
27. Yeah. Another week. January will be almost gone.
2021's moving.
So namaste. Forgive.
Have
and forgive
fun
yourself,
with that.
Forgive others.
Thank you, everyone, for all your comments and conversation. We love that. We appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing from you again next week as well.
Yes.
Enjoy. See you next time. Love you guys.
Yes. All right. Good night. The Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details, www.facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo. Show is copyrighted 2021 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears, all rights reserved.